Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
I'm ready for the event.
CBS Radio News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call the station for a voice check.
Station, this is Bill Harlow, CBS News. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear, Bill. How are you doing?
Hey, pretty good, Peggy. So how's it going up there? You guys have a bit more room right now while you wait for some fresh crew members to arrive. I'm wondering if you're enjoying a bit more privacy, or is this a bit of a break for you guys?
Actually, we've been pretty busy. We have a lot of activities coming up, preparing for future arrival of OA7 and, of course, the Soyuz crew, as well as hopefully conducting another spacewalk in the near future. So we've got a lot of things going on, preparations underway.
Well, you know, speaking of spacewalks, Peggy, I've never heard an astronaut yet say they gave much thought to setting new space records, but, you know, it seems like you're setting a new record every week or so. You're now 5th on the list of the most experienced spacewalkers. You're number 1 on that list for female spacewalkers, and you'll move up to number 3 all time if you get to do one more. So the question is, how in the world did a farm girl from Iowa get to do all that?
I don't really know how I got this lucky. It's been amazing to have the opportunities that I've had, and it's just amazing to me what some dedication and a lot of hard work paid off in. It's just unbelievable.
Well, you know, I've never worked on a farm, but I know it's not easy. I mean, is that where you got this work ethic? You know, and just out of curiosity, did you ever look up at the stars out there and even imagine in your wildest dreams that you would end up in space?
Well, actually, my work ethic is, I think, from my farm life. My parents are the hardest working people I ever knew. They always worked every day, all day, and they had to come up with the solutions to make things work. And I think that work ethic, that maybe stubbornness, single-mindedness, definitely played a role for me. So I'm definitely thankful for my roots. And looking up in the night skies in Iowa, it's very rural where I'm from, and so you do get to see a lot of stars, and I do think you dream a lot.
I can imagine. But continuing our theme here, you know, you're 3 station visits now. You're currently 29th in the world in total time and space. On April 24, you'll jump up to number 14, passing Jeff Williams, to become America's most experienced astronaut. I mean, do you view yourself as a role model of any kind for young women, or is that something that maybe is immaterial to you?
I don't know that it's immaterial, but it's not something I think about a lot. But I know that the first female astronauts selected were definitely an inspiration to me. And so maybe I will be a role model.
Well, I certainly think you would be, for sure. You know, right now, I guess you're expected to come home September 3rd. And if that schedule holds up, you'll move up to, continuing my records thing here, to 7th in the world in cumulative time in space. That's 132 days more than Jeff Williams and 146 days more than Scott Kelly. So I'm guessing your U.S. mark is going to stand for quite a while.
I don't know. I hope not. I hope we continue to progress. We want people to continue learning new things about what space does to the human body. It's important for us to understand that and make sure that when we get ready to fly to Mars, that we are ready for what we are going to be exposed to, and hopefully have learned a lot. I mean, we're learning amazing things on the space station now about exercise and how our bones and muscles recover, the effects of fluid shifts on our eyes. We're doing a lot of really interesting science that is definitely going to be a stepping stone, plus all the technology development, you know, for our life support systems, our water reclamation system, urine processing system. All of that is going to play key roles in our future missions. And so I'm really excited about the things that we have going on up here.
Just to close out some thoughts about records, you know, one thing about records, no one notices when one male or another moves up or down the list. Does it bother you that people like me still mark these records for women?
Well, it'll be a real mark when we don't have to talk about it, but I understand why you're doing it.
Okay. Well, anyway, on September 3rd, that landing day, that's a recent decision to extend your mission by 3 months, of course. You were originally coming down June 2nd. I've thought in the past when missions got extended, it's got to be a little bit tough psychologically to think you're coming home and then all of a sudden you're adding 90 days. I mean, was that an adjustment for you, or is it a case where you wanted to do it so bad that it's not a problem?
Well, actually, before I launched, the day before I launched, they said there was a chance this might happen. And my husband and I, we talked about it, and we decided we were going to have a road to successful happiness. We were going to be happy if I came home in June, and we were going to be happy if I came home in September, because there's so many things that change in what we do up here that you can never count on any one thing, and counting on something will lead to disappointment. So flexible plans for happiness worked out for us for the September option. So we're going to be great.
Well, one question I had thinking about all this time in space, I mean, would you fly again if they'd let you? Or does long-term, radiation exposure rule that out, or maybe your husband rules that out?
I'd fly again if they'd let me.
Okay, well, we'll pass that on to NASA management, I guess. Anyway, the next Soyuz is carrying 2 crew members. And if you'd come home on June 2nd as planned, obviously there'd been a gap between missions this summer. There'd only be 2 people aboard the station, only 1 American. What does it mean to science operations to have you and Jack Fisher on board during that gap as opposed to just 1 person? In other words, what does keeping you up mean for the science on station?
Well, it's actually a pretty big deal. We'll be welcoming SpaceX 11, and it's carrying a lot of scientific research on it. Without 2 U.S. crew members up here, we wouldn't be able to grapple the vehicle when it arrives. So this is great for us. It allows us to continue our cargo processing schedule, get not only the science up, but other routine supplies up here. So I think it's important for the program to continue our scientific research primarily, I think, is the main objective. But it allows us to continue, and I think keep the station in a safer situation with 3 of us up here.
And I guess it also preserves the option of a contingency EVA, I guess, if you had to do one. I mean, you'd never do that with just 1 American on board. Is that right?
Yeah, that's probably true. And obviously there's none planned during that time frame, but it does give us a few more options in that scenario. So it's better, since there is a 2-month gap, it's better for us to have that contingency capability.
Peggy, to wrap up my part of this event, I was just wondering, after all this time in space, what are the top 2 or 3 things? Is it the usual looking out the window? Is it weightlessness? What is it for you, with all of your experience, that you enjoy the most, and what do you miss the most?
I think the thing I enjoy the most is the daily satisfaction. The work up here contributes every day to space flight, to exploration, and I think that it gives me a lot of satisfaction in my work. It's not the same as going to a meeting, even though I might be contributing just as much, maybe more, but in this arena it feels like a direct contribution. And so I think that satisfaction is probably the number 1 thing for me. I think the reality of living in an environment that is so different, so foreign to what we've grown up with on planet Earth is also very novel and unique, and the very special part of our existence up here in zero gravity. The thing I miss the most, I actually enjoy cooking, and I like a variety of things, and so I get a little tired of the food up here after a while. So that's probably the thing I like the least. But they do a great job of trying to get us some variety. And it's great. We have Thomas Pesquet on board, and he has some French cuisine that offers some variety as well as some Russian cuisine. But food is the thing that I miss, cooking actually as much.
Well, Peggy, thank you very much. My time is up, and I promise on your next flight, I won't ask you about all these records again. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
All right, take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CBS radio news portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from CNN.
Rachel Crane with CNN. How do you hear me? I just hear something ringing in my ear.
I have you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
You guys, I'm sorry. This is just all I hear is ringing in my ear right now. I just hear ringing in my ear.
Rachel, this is Peggy. How do you hear me?
We hear you.
I now hear something. Station, this is Rachel Crane with CNN. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear on board the space station.
Great. All right, so Peggy, how does a girl from Beaconsfield, Iowa, with a population of less than 20, become the commander of the International Space Station?
I don't know. I think it's kind of a miracle, actually. But I think the dedication and work ethic that I learned growing up on the farm, maybe in a healthy dose of stubbornness, kept me on a path that got very lucky on in the end and was selected to be an astronaut. So it's pretty amazing, really quite unbelievable.
Now, you've been to space several times now, so what's the first thing that you do when you get back to Earth? Do you have a routine of some sort?
Shower is nice. Up here we have to take just wiped baths with wipes and towels and stuff, and so showers are nice, and food is nice. I like to be able to cook for myself, so food is a nice thing to have when you get back home.
So you've broken just about every record for a female astronaut, for a U.S. female astronaut out there. So was that your goal, or is that just sort of an added bonus to all of this?
It was really just an added bonus. I've been lucky enough, privileged enough to be in some very unique times and was able to do some very special things. Conducting spacewalks, being the first commander, all of that was somewhat based on timing and opportunities. So it's just a real honor for me to be able to represent NASA in these areas.
And with each new record that you break, I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, I guess I don't think about the records themselves too much, but it definitely, when I do think about them, I think about all the people that make it possible. There's an incredible number of people at NASA who make it possible.
On April 24th, you will have broken another incredible record. You will have spent more days, in cumulative days in space than any other U.S. astronaut. What's the next record for you?
I'm not sure. I'm sure there's somebody out there keeping track, but I'm not sure what the next one will be.
So your stay on the International Space Station was just extended by 3 months. But how long in space is too long? I mean, do you think that our bodies and brains could actually handle a mission to Mars now, having spent so long on the International Space Station?
Actually, that's exactly why we're spending this time up here, is to find out what the limitations are, where do we need to compensate for things, whether it's from a psychological perspective or from a physiological perspective. Those are some of the questions that are really key for us that we're trying to learn here on board the space station, so that when we get ready to go to Mars, we will know that we are capable and ready, and it'll just be part of the evolution of getting there.
So the late, great John Glenn last flew to space when he was 77 years old. Do you have any indication of if you'll be still flying to space when you're 77, Peggy?
If I'm not dead.
So then this is not your last mission to space, you say?
I have no idea. You know, there are lots of young people out there who need to have flight opportunities too, and so we don't have too many opportunities these days, and I may have to step back for a while. So that's just the way it is. But I'm loving working for NASA, and I worked for NASA for 10 years before I was lucky enough to be selected as an astronaut. I've always said I've never had a real job because I've done what I wanted, and that was work at NASA.
So Peggy, your last spacewalk, you worked on a future docking port for commercial space missions. Would you go to space on a commercial mission?
Absolutely. I think our commercial providers are working very hard, striving to get up here, hopefully within the next year or so, with their first test flights. It's going to be an important time period for them, and I know they're working very hard on getting their vehicles and launchers human-rated. So we're looking forward to welcoming on board the space station new vehicles, and I think that's going to be really special for us. I think it's going to be the next step in evolution of commercializing space and expanding our footprint into the solar system.
Peggy, what advice would you give to young girls out there who want to follow in your footsteps and hope to go to space one day?
Well, I think picking any field in math, science, or engineering, and picking one that you love because you really need to excel at it. Also working on people skills. It's important in an environment like this to be able to work and in a collaborative way, not only with the crew that we have on board, but the crew that we have on the ground. The whole team is important. So those interpersonal skills are just as important as the technical skills. And for the crew on board, I think maybe even more important. So work on all those things, but the biggest piece of advice I would say is don't underestimate yourself. Push yourself, challenge yourself to do more than you think you can.
You have stacked up one of the most impressive resumes at NASA. With all that you've done, what memory sticks out to you most, Peggy?
Well, other than actual space flight, being in space, I think probably the most challenging and interesting position I've had was being chief of the astronaut office. It was very much a work and collaborating with other organizations at NASA, and I really think it helped me develop a lot as a leader. So I think that was probably, other than spaceflight, my my most satisfying time.
And is there any advice that you would like to impart on the people who have already bought tickets to space, commercial tickets to space?
Enjoy it. It's going to be a blast. You're going to love every second of it. Just this whole environment, being able to be in zero gravity and move around at will is just amazing. It's very freeing, and it gives you a whole nother perspective on our planet below. So I just think everyone will enjoy it. Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much, Peggy. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rachel.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you. CBS Radio News and CNN. Station, please stand by while we reconfigure video and audio communications.